Hello students, we start with the first chapter and that is the Introduction to Reproduction in Organisms. Look at the screen. In all these pics shown out here, there is one thing in common and that is each of the adults is with their tiny young ones. So students, this is what exactly we're going to be discussing about and that is reproduction. But before we move ahead, what is reproduction? Let's define reproduction. Reproduction is defined as the production of new, viable and fertile offsprings from the pre-existing generation. Let's take these terms one by one. What do you mean by new? New means it's a genetical mix of parents. What is viable? Viable means the individuals are able to reach a stage at which they can reproduce, that is called as the reproductive stage. What is fertile? Fertile means that after reaching a reproductive stage, the individuals are able to produce the next generation, that is their offsprings. So three words defining reproduction: new, viable and fertile. Kids, here I take a small example of an animal that you all are familiar with. It's none other than the mule. Now mule, which is also commonly called as khatar, is a cross between the male donkey and the female horse, that is the mare. Now this mule, it has a common fact that it cannot produce its own next generation. No offsprings means it is not fertile, but rather it is sterile. So kids, do you feel that mule fits into the definition of reproduction? No. So reproduction is a biological process in which an organism gives rise to the young ones or the offsprings which are very much similar to itself. Now next we ask, what is the need of reproduction? Why do we reproduce? Reproduction happens to be the most important tool for maintenance of species, that is perpetuation of species. If an individual is not able to reproduce, it might be under the threat of extinction, as what has happened with the large reptiles, that is the dinosaurs. Now, for reproduction, there are four major characteristic features. The first characteristic feature is on the molecular basis, which is replication of DNA. What do you mean by replication? Replication is when one strand of DNA forms two strands of DNA, that is a copy of itself. The second important feature is the cytological basis, that is cell division. The third important feature is the formation of reproductive units, and along with it, the fourth is the development of these young reproductive units to adult and mature forms. Now, dear students, what are these reproductive units that I am talking about here? They are none other than the androecium and the gynoecium in case of plants, and the testes and the ovaries in case of animals. Now, one fact is that there is a complete cycle from birth to growth and death. Each and every organism can live for only a certain period of time, which is called as the lifespan. Let's define lifespan. Lifespan is defined as the period from birth to the natural death of an organism. So students, this was all about the introduction to reproduction. Meet you next in the next module.